Oh, no, rain in the race.
Well, we'll ignore what he just said. Welcome along, everybody. The track christened by the man who was one of the greatest drivers to ever live in Formula 1. Sad that he didn't live as long as Gilles Villeneuve. We're here at the Circus at Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix, and I am very, very excited, and I do know one thing I did wrong. Naming the stream. I thought, oh, I'm just going to plug and play. I'm ready to go. I named the Canadian Grand Prix. I did not change the round number.
Oh, it happens to the best of us.
I'm sure I'll get reamed about that later.
Oh, yeah. It's quite
just
all
let
right.
Nick know. Just let Nick know I completely messed up the round number.
All right.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, back in Tier 1 action. And it is qualifying 1. We're back. Let's talk about the world of ISRL. This is what I love about the full qualifying sessions. We just get to talk about everything that's going on. There's Lewis coming out of the pit lane in the newly updated McLaren, showing off those we race as one colors, which is nice to see. I always was waiting for them to finally update that livery, but they finally did so. And let's get set for Q1 action. Just a little bit of a sit down as we get to talk about how the season has gone, as we're about near the halfway point, I believe. In fact, next weekend, I believe, is the Mexican Grand Prix. We're at the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, halfway point of the season. We've had some exciting races so far, and I'm sure here around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve it's going to be no different here. I'm noticing we only... Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
All I know is that we're both going to say this name, track of this name, very differently. Because I was like, what did he just say? What just spewed out of his mouth? What blabber? But nonetheless, I'll always defer back to you since this is the home country for you. As just riding on board of Yarno there in the AlphaTauri as he's on an outlap right now. A few drivers on outlaps. I believe furthest man out right now is Lewis, who actually just came out of the Wall of Champions, almost at the Wall of Champions, as he starts his first flying lap of the session. The Circuit de Villeneuve is the home of the Canadian Grand Prix. It is technically a street track, though it is about as racy of a street track as possible. As Fallon, you want to talk us through this track? What do drivers need to do to maximize lap times and maximize their performance in this race?
Honestly, you have to make the most of every corner, I would say. But that doesn't necessarily mean cut every corner, because as I'm sure we all know...
as Lewis just did right there, I believe.
Prime example of that. If you cut just a little bit too much, boom. In quality, that's your lap time done just like that. In the race, you're going to accumulate penalties very quickly if you cut too much. But, of course, if you're not, if you don't try to push the track limits, you're definitely not going to be able to maximize your time around this track, because the lap times, as much as a relatively straight track, your lap time can really be made or broken with how you take probably the 3-4 different chicanes that we're going to run through on this track. So definitely want to cut, but not cut too much. Just know your limit and play within it, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it.
Did our man Nick Packin change the round number?
I believe he did. I believe that was
I was about to
corrected.
go do that. There we go.
Yep,
Nick Packin, packing the stuff. Thank you, Nick. His Knight still in the pit lane. We have a few drivers still, not a lot of drivers actually. A few drivers have invalidated their times, so we haven't gotten any legitimate times on the board. Diane was invalidated as well. That's a lot of invalidated times. I think Izat's still going. Yep.
Oh, well, let's take a look at Izat. There we go. Yeah, because I was
flying
watching,
through the chicane.
Oh yeah, we'll see what kind of time he can put up. So car 19, he invalidated his time somewhere.
1:08.6.
Already we're seeing the 108s.
Oh my. Man, would I love to be in a 1:08.6 in time trial. But nonetheless, Isaac Cush is the man who does it in the McLaren, as he's still rocking one of the older helmets. I gotta tell you, I want to keep my helmet because of the fact, like, it's just, keep it throughout the season. But man, some of those new helmets that they put in the new pass, like, I want to switch my helmet so bad. But I'll keep it for this season, I think.
I'll take a look. I might change mine up if I can get a nice little Mercedes color pattern going.
Yeah, maybe I'll switch it up for like a race. Like, oh, there's my special helmet that nobody cares about because I'm not sharing that to anybody. But nonetheless, we're still waiting for some more time to get on the board. As many drivers.
VR is going to do one. He's about to cross the line. I've been keeping an eye on him. It's been pretty clean so far. What's it going to be?
Second, 109.1. Not too bad.
Not a bad time.
Still better than my time.
Oh no, for Tier 1 standards, probably might see something a little bit quicker. Thankfully, given the way
Farrell's about to come across the line.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. What kind of time is it going to be?
Just about a 10th off.
Too. It's nice. I think drivers are setting banker laps for the most part this time around. But I was just mentioning. Yeah, no, I was just mentioning, thankfully, for the time being, we're only 15 drivers here in qualifying, so everybody gets a free pass into qualifying too. So really, it's more about probably just getting a feel for the circuit and
just a bit of a practice session.
Yeah, a bit of a nice little 15-minute practice session for everyone.
So let's talk about how the championship has transpired, and we're gonna get a little opinions here because I like to. I probably was spewing a little bit too many opinions in the race last time, but let's talk seriousness right here, because we can speculate about things, but really we're talking about Jer and Sweet Crown 19 in the battle for the championship. Sweet Crown leading it again after that early skirmish into the top 3 he was at because of that DNF in Zandvoort. Talking about Sweet Crown and Jer, right now, as we're heading into the beginning of the middle of the season, who do you pick right now? In your opinion, who do you think right now that's going to be our champion at the end of the season?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go with the safe bet. I'm gonna have to say Sweet Crown 19, not to take away of anything that Jer has done. I do think Jer is an extremely strong driver, can definitely compete for the win. But just given the start Sweet Crown 19's had, given the consistency, and given the history of how Sweet Crown 19 has performed, I do think he is my front runner to win the Tier 3 championship once again. But you know what, Jer? If you don't like that, please go out and prove me wrong.
We definitely, and this isn't going to be a normal sports debate show because I unfortunately do have to agree with you because Sweet Crown is just, constantly lights out performances. Even when he's down in the bottom field, always finds himself in the backup, which annoys me at times, but also it just impresses me at times is how much he grinds for victories. And as you can see, Sweet Crown flying through in Sector 1. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, actually, so I think that was one of the Red Bull cars. Sweet Crown fastest in the first sector. He's got a Mercedes ahead of him, which is giving us some switching. That's Jamian, so Mercedes power unit cars, I guess, working together in this situation. But, Sweet Crown is the master of consistency. I mean, how many times has he retired besides that Zandvoort race? I mean, very little times in his career where he has retired out of the race. So it's really, even if you get bad results, especially with the expanded points now in this championship, Sweet Crown really just has a huge advantage in terms of just being a driver who always finishes a race, is always in some sort of point scoring position. We've seen Jer a couple times in this season not only being near the bottom of the grid, but struggle to get out back into the top parts of the grid. And Sweet Crown 19 goes fastest, 108.3. That's about 0.3 faster than Izat, as he'll be on fastest provisionally in the session with about 8 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. But, Sweet Crown 19, just master of consistently, always getting points. Even if they aren't great points, they're still points, and those are the things that add up. Those are things that ultimately grab you a championship. As Sweet Crown going for 3 in a row in ISRL Esports. That is, it's interesting with league racing, because it's not real Formula 1. So we're talking about like Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, multiple world champions, and we're looking in front of Sweet Crown 19, who's about to get into that triple world championship status. It's just kind of cool being getting into a league race and being so invested in it that you get to be part of a group of drivers, and one of them happens to be your 3-time world champion in the league. It's just a really cool thing, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that's oh my goodness, yeah, definitely. Well, it is cool to see, especially for the likes of Sucro 19, just watching him dominate the league season after season. But that's not to say that there's been drivers who have been trying to thwart that. Sucro 19 was actually stuck behind him a little bit. Jamie 1, we saw in season 1 that put up a very good fight. Not able to keep up the pace in season 2 or season 3 as much as you would hope. Not that he hasn't been solid, just not able to keep up with the pace. Jer, another one who's come in and really put sort of tried to give Suikron a bit of a run for his money, but it seems like so far every challenge that we've seemingly been able to throw Suikron's way, he's been able to, I guess, to beat with flying colors so far. And it seems like now, so far in Season 3, it's not overly different, and at least for the time being, Suikron's gonna have a bit of a breather, because Jer is unfortunately running into some issues on his end, and actually is not able to make it in time for qualifying. So even if he is able to join for the race, he's gonna be starting all the way down in 16th, 17th, in one of those bottom 5 starting positions. So already that's a huge advantage for Suicron if he's able to qualify on pole like we've seen him do so often in the past.
And it's not like in other races, you can say, oh, look, on the medium tires. I actually, on the medium and hard tires in this race, I actually thought those tires struggled a lot. I mean, the drop-off and grip especially. The medium tires were okay, but it's really the turn-in on the corners, which is, we said, ooh, and then we saw Infamous Pillars actually have a little bit of a moment at the hairpin as he is riding over the Rolex logo, but as he comes back on track. The medium tires were good, but the big thing with the medium and hard tires was it was a lack of turn-in, and in my opinion, it's the lack of turn-in and the lack of grip to speed up is really what is hampering it was hampering my times, and I think a lot of drivers are going to run into similar issues. So I would say just start on the softs anyway if you're Jer, just because I don't think those medium and soft, you could just go into medium, or medium hard, depending on what you want to do, but it's going to be rather difficult to get those tires in operating window, and then not only that, but get them into, competitive window. I think that with Jer, it's better because he's not qualified yet, so there is a chance he could try to do like a soft medium soft strategy, which would be really helpful for him. He'd have to extend the mediums pretty long, but he could do that, so there is a bit of an advantage for him in that scenario. But overall, it's going to be difficult for him to make up progress, because I don't really think, in my opinion at least, when I was on those tires, they weren't really working too well for me in the race. He's going to have some trouble making up the pack. I'm assuming he'll start on the softs and just go with a traditional strategy.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree with you, but only slightly on that. I do 100% agree that the hard tires, not really the ideal tire. Not that they really ever are, at least in this installment of the F1 2020 or of the F1 games. But I did feel around Canada they really weren't all that hot. The medium tires, once they started getting a little bit of heat in them and they started kind of being rubbered in a little bit, I felt as if they were definitely serviceable, they were manageable, albeit not nearly as much as the soft tires, of course. But I do think that, on the right setup, you could definitely manage with these medium tires. But I'm with you, of course, to start on the soft tires, especially if you're in the back of the grid and if you have the pace, just because you want that grip early on when all the drivers are bunched together right from the start, because then you can actually really make up a lot of spots early on, especially if you know that you have the pace to make up these spots.
Yeah, and as you can see, a lot of drivers are retiring now as the session's about to close. Now, I did notice here that 16 drivers now on the grid. I think Extra Rotation was the driver that just joined. Now, I don't know if I'm... we see Sofian actually hit the wall in the X, and in fact doesn't validate this time. He was trying to set up that it's going to matter too much because he's going to make it into the session. But is Chris now out of qualifying because of that? I'm not too sure, because it was 15 when we started. It's now 16. Some more game woes, and just as we saw last week, it was got kicked out of the race for the start. One of the weirdest moments in league racing that I've seen in a while, but we were able to, of course, to continue covering the race. Moving on just a little bit, because we do have a few other drivers still on the grid, so we can talk about it. I want to talk about Duwell and the Haas, who in other sports, both real life and in esports, there is a little bit of an improvement factor. I think in sometimes with, especially in F1, I think you can improve a lot. I suspect, I think, if Do-Will can really push it, I don't know Do-Will too personally, so I wouldn't know how hard he pushes with practice and everything, but I think that Do-Will could be a serious contender for a championship in the near future, because we've seen how consistent he is and just how much off the bat he was putting in really impressive times. I think Do-Will, if he can put it all together, is going to be a very exciting prospect in the league, as he already has shown to be. But this season has done well for him, and he's put it in some very good positions. So if he can just improve a little bit more, get some really quick times on the board, because the consistency is there, I think Do-Will could be in for some really good competition future in the league.
Oh, definitely. He's already, as you're talking about him, I just took a quick peek at the standings, and he's actually up into 5th place now, here around the midway point. So he's already making an impact with the strong showings he's had, and it's only going to be more positives from him as he goes up. So he might be able to really bring the battle to the likes of Sophion, to the likes of maybe even Izat. And if he's really able to push the car to the limits and really get the true pace out of the car that he can find, he might even be able to bring it up, bring the battle to the likes of Jer and Sweet Crown for the for some potential Grand Prix wins, and maybe even some championship victories in the future of ISRL.
It's all what matters is Sweet Crown is the bar. There's no question about that. I mean, if you want to talk about in terms of league racing, if we take ISRL as a top league, for us, this is our end goal. Tier 1 is the end goal. Then you're talking about Sweet Crown. Sweet Crown will be considered a GOAT, greatest of all time right now. So
yeah.
Sweet Crown's the bar. You have to reach Sweet Crown. That is the big thing. People like Isaac Kush. Isaac has had better qualifying recently, but the qualifying hasn't always been there, and he's gotten himself up into the top 3 multiple times. People like Jer, of course, Jer really the biggest contender for a championship that we've seen in ISRL. I mean, and again, like Do-Will, I think Jediant as well, if he can really get some pace up. I mean, Jediant has the pace and the consistency. I mean, there's a lot of drivers who can elevate themselves up into championship caliber. I just think that they have to if they think they can do it, then they just have to put in the work for it, and I think it will eventually happen, because that's the bar right now. It's Sweet Crown 19, the bar for be the best, and eventually somebody will do that. We just have to wait and see who that eventually is, as we finally get the lineup who make it in. Now let's look at the bottom here. So Chris did get knocked out of qualifying, so Extra Rotation joined later in the session. But Chris got knocked out. Now again, it's only 1 place down, so it's not like it's terrible, It's only one. He's only going to be last, but it's not like it's last. But still interesting that Extra Rotation joined. I thought Extra Rotation joined mid-session, if I'm not mistaken, and then still made it into the next qualifying session. So Chris did in fact retire, though. So that is the reason he would have gotten knocked out anyway, because I believe he was serving. Was he serving a ban or not? I'm not sure. But
take a quick peek at that as we're going to go into the second qualifying. But if he was serving a ban, that makes sense. But just generally speaking, when you do retire without setting a lap time, normally that does kick you all the way down to the bottom. I believe that's how that works.
We're here in qualifying 2, which is 15 minutes. As we'll see what the drivers can do. Now it's showtime, as now the eliminations start to really come into effect. This is the battle for the top 10 shootout to get into Q3 for pole position territory, and we'll see what drivers do that and what drivers don't, and we get some HD quality coughing in the background from ISRL Night, which is great, as we're getting the first driver coming out of the pit lane, which is ISRL Lewis coming out of the pit lane in the McLaren, as he normally is one of the first drivers out. We'll see what he can do in qualifying 2 on the soft compound tire. So just remember, fastest time in Q2 on that tire, that is the tire you're going to be starting on in the race. So we'll see what drivers tend to do. I think most of them will in fact elect to go on the softs. We'll see if anybody tries to venture out on the medium tires to get a little longer tire strategy advantage.
Yeah, looking at the initial tire choice, well, I'm seeing a few drivers at least putting the medium tires on, sitting in the pits. So that leads me to think that they're at least considering going out on the medium tires and maybe setting a lap to see what the pace is like.
I see Jamie and elected he just switched. I think Duwil and Izat were the first people I saw. Sweet Crown just switched to the medium tires in his selection. We see a lot of drivers now making that switch. I don't know if they're just listening in the chat and making us speculate more than we have to, but nonetheless, a few drivers possibly thinking about going out on mediums. Now, whether that's a banker lap or that's actually serious, do you want to start on the mediums, have to wait and see. But I suspect most drivers would still want to elect to go on the softs because they don't wear out too fast on this track. You can extend them pretty much into the third part, like a third of the race. So I think most drivers will just go onto the softs as Lewis begins his first flying lap of the Q2.
Yeah, but speaking of that, I'm seeing Sweet Crown 19, Jamie 1, and Izat Kush all opting to do their first out lap at the very least on those medium tires. So I guess they will be giving it a shot. Whether it's going to be a banker lap, as you said, or a true lap, awaits to be seen.
I want to mention here that Knight, it's on a lap. Well, he was on a lap, but it was invalidated. But he has the Dianat in front of him, so I don't know if he was caught up at all from the Renault.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I wasn't able to see too well what had happened there. But either way, unfortunately, due to the track limits, the lap is invalidated for him. So now we'll just have to see if he's going to go around, do another lap, or if he's just going to opt to dive into the pits, maybe get another fresh set of tires on and try again.
Lewis is heading down that final DRS straight before the slingshot chicane, just missing that wall of champions, and he does so successfully. And it's going to come across the line. Let's see. It's going to be a 1:08.9, so a very impressive lap time from Lewis, and that's going to put him in the P1 at the moment. We do have a few other people who still have to cross the line. Sweet Crown 19 is on a hot lap right now in the Williams car, heading Williams towards the Constructors. Fallen, can you give us an update on the Constructors Championship? How are we looking right now?
So from what I could see with the Constructors, it was as you were saying, the Williams team currently still in the lead of the Constructors with a collective 272 points. Now the Ferrari team of Sofian and Josh too actually in second right now, but they're tied with the AlphaTauri team as well, and they're both at 212 points. And the McLarens are very close behind with 199 points. So this nice little gap between second and fourth in the Constructors is still anybody's race to win. Even more so, just to keep an eye on the Ferraris and the AlphaTauris. So that's Josh 2, Sofian, VR46, and I believe VR46 is on his own for the AlphaTauri team. But setting a nice quick lap for a 1:08.7, so maybe not needing his teammate. But either way, it's a nice little close battle in the Constructors here for second, I would say.
I'd have to think that the Ferraris are the favorite for the Constructors, considering that Sweet Crown usually without his teammate, which happens to be Pube. Now, we know Pube obviously is a strong talent. In fact, I would think if Pube was able to get to some of the more races, I would think that he'd be a championship contender as well, considering the pace we've seen from him in the past. But obviously, Sweet Crown, it's a bit of a one-man show right now at Williams, so we've seen the pace of the Ferraris, Josh 2 and Sophia on both. I would have to think that the advantage goes to Ferrari, but then again, Isaac Kush normally gets that car well up in the positions, and Lewis is usually in the top 10 scoring some points as well. So we'll have to wait and see how they do, but I think it's going to be a battle between McLaren and Ferrari ultimately at the end of the year for that Constructors Championship, unless Pube obviously makes some more races, which we'd of course like to see that because he is a awesome talent on the grid, always super quick in qualifying, always giving us some awesome action on track in the race. So we'll see if we can get him into some more races, because if that would, Pube and Sweet Crown for a Constructors Challenge, there really isn't a better duo in my opinion on the grid.
Oh no, and that's it's a little upsetting that that Pube wasn't able to make it up to too many races, because that would have been a nice. It would have added a nice dynamic to the battle for the lead, and even for the top 3, top 4, I would say. Just having that extra driver there, just causing mayhem, as we've seen him do in the past, and as we know he is capable of doing. Not in a bad way, of course, right?
No,
but
no,
just
good mayhem.
Nice, good mayhem, and kind of nice, a little bit of a shake-up, and that, you know, it could have also helped Sweet Crown as well, because I have seen them. I wouldn't call it team orders per se, but I have seen some communication between the drivers.
They're cordial with each other.
Yeah.
I think that would be they're cordial with each other, which is better than most teammates are in most cases. I mean, I'm not necessarily the most amazing, like, yeah, go by, great job, teammate. No, but they're normally pretty good with each other, which is good. And Josh 2 just invalidated his time in the turn 1. He's got a McLaren coming up behind him. Extra rotation has retired from the session, I believe. Was that in the pit lane? I believe it was.
Yeah, I believe so. I think he was probably happy with his 108.7 that he had set.
Yeah, it should be pretty good for top 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was good enough for second, so he is going to have to fall a good an 8-9 spots before truly being knocked out of qualifying. But there still is only under 8 minutes to go, so there still is a decent amount of time, and given the way we've seen the track evolution in the past, anything can happen.
And here is Isaac Kush. He's coming down the DRS straight. He had a big lockup into the hairpin. He's on that medium compound tire, and he is going to come into the pits. Currently sitting P5 at the moment, and somebody just went up a little further. I think that was Sophion. He's 7th fast at the moment. Josh 2 is without a time right now, as he's going to have to go back into the pit lane. Or is he not? No. Maybe he loaded up the car a little bit with some more fuel. He's going to go for another lap. So we'll see what Josh 2 can do in the Scuderia Ferrari SF1000. While this is equal cars, so the cars are equal in performance, so that Ferrari actually, depending on the driver, can be a little bit further up the grid than it is in real life, where it definitely is struggling this season. It's not something we like to see all the time. I mean, hoping eventually Ferrari will get back into form and be able to challenge for real championship possibility. But nonetheless, Josh 2 just went fastest in the first sector, so he's on the charge right now. He's on that medium compound tire, so we've actually seen a lot of drivers elect to go on the medium tire. In fact, Sweetcar 19 still on that medium tire in P3. Josh 2, though, let's see what he can do in the second sector, as he went personal best in the second sector, so looking quick right now. In the SF1000, in the Scarlet Red Ferrari, the brighter red coming from that Philip Morris international sponsorship that has been acquired many years ago. As you saw in Mugello, they were running that burgundy color, the original Ferrari colors, as he's going to put it into the chicane. And another hit at the wall of champions for a Ferrari, and that's going to be an invalidated lap for Josh 2, and that was looking to be a really good time. But right now, with 5 minutes and 44 seconds left to go and counting, Josh 2 has to get back in the pits, got to get some new tires on, and he just got to set a time because he's in trouble right now of getting knocked out of qualifying.
Yeah, I think he just pushed that last chicane a little bit too much, trying to eke out as much time as he possibly could on that lap, because it was looking like a very good lap, but unfortunately for him, hit the wall, broke a little bit of his wing in the process too, so that might hinder him on his lap back to the pits. But unfortunately now, with 5 minutes to go, he's sort of in a bit of a do-or-die situation now. Just because if he doesn't set a time next lap, then yeah, definitely risking not even making it through into
I think somebody just went P2.
Pillars.
Yeah, P2.
Yeah, that was infamous Pillars in the Haas car, sitting a 108.7, and that brings him all the way up into second on the medium tires, no less. So he's looking very, very good now, with less than 5 minutes to go, to getting a nice, potentially a nice starting position and starting on that potential optimal medium tire if he's able to make it last for long enough.
Let's hope he can do just that. In the Haas car, Duell has been without a Haas teammate a lot of the time, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's happy about that, not only having a teammate and having a teammate who, at least from what we can see, can definitely perform with the best of them.
I don't know what Carter, we understand there's rain in the second half of the race. Earth the commentators, maybe Earth the Carter. We already said that, thank you. But I don't want to be too mean to our viewers. But I do want to say because we didn't say it just yet, even though it's a little bit late. We do want to say happy birthday to ISRL Knight, or Nick Panic, who is, of course, the owner of ISRL Esports, who helps this machine run and run successfully. So we want to wish him a great happy birthday. Obviously, all the great work he does for the ISRL Esports League, and the much more incredible work he's going to do in the future. So happy birthday to you, and hopefully you can make it into the top 10, because right now you're sitting in 11th, as I'm sure he's going to want to make it into the top 10 shootout with his home crowd, virtual home crowd looking on him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he will too. And speaking of the Red Bull team, I'm actually watching Gurman as he's coming down this back straight now, getting ready to start his own flying lap. So, and what I do have to say is there might be a little bit of teamwork planned out in the Red Bull garage between Gurman and Knight. We'll see how that plays out, as Gurman's just starting his flying lap now. He hasn't set a time yet, so he's going to have to...
Knight's coming out of the pit lane right now.
Yep, so maybe a little bit of... potentially a little bit of DRS planned. Ooh, as Gurman actually sets up a quickest first sector. So it's looking like a good time so far for him, and especially now in a situation where if he doesn't set a time now here, he won't have enough time to go back into the pits and change his tires. So he's really going to have to either set a time or live with the fact that he won't make it through into Q3.
As he comes around the hairpin, it looked like a little bit of a lockup. Does exit and almost hits the wall, but keeps it nice and steady as he's coming down the DRS straight. Only one more tricky corner to navigate in terms of corner cutting. And he's going to try to navigate that best he can. Comes through it, and a big slide out of the chicane. Keeps it out of the wall. Champions. Here comes Gurman, and that's P6. So it's a great time from Gurman. Going to put him into Q3 pretty easily with that 109 flat. And here is ISRL Knight. Now, I don't believe... Gurman, I'm assuming, going to try to push it around the track, but I don't really know where Knight's going to be able to get this slipstream from Gurman.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit mistimed, or maybe...
Oh, no! Knight just invalidated into the final chicane. He's going to have to book it. Or, no, he did. Oh, did he? Nope, because I got a red lap. I had a red lap on him.
He did have the red lap, but that was on his out lap. So now that he's on the flying lap...
Oh, I'm sorry, because it flashed on my screen, the red lap, that he had gone, like, in the final chicane. That's what I meant. It's like,
no, so not all hope is gone just yet. Speaking of, somebody else who had to set a lap, do or die, it's Feral Fury. He crosses the line, good enough for provisional 8th, setting a 109.1, so...
Knight is fastest in the first sector.
Yeah, so it's looking like a good time so far. We'll see how that plays out.
Now, where is Gurman? Gurman's in the pit, so he's not going to be giving any slipstream to his teammate today, but ooh, this is interesting. Knight does have a Williams ahead of him, and that is, well, it was Sweetcrown 19, who's not going to give him any slipstream for sure. But here comes Knight, looking to get into the top 10, sitting 14th at the moment with a 109.4. We definitely know he can go faster than that. Here comes ISRL Knight coming into the chicane. Looking good. Keeps it out of the wall, just out of the wall. And here comes ISRL Knight across the line, and that's P4, a great time, and the Red Bulls are into Q3, and that was a mega final lap in Q2 for him, and he's going to get into the top 5.
Crazy lap for Knight, and good job by the Red Bull cars being able to set sometimes make it into Q3. Now, a driver who unfortunately did not get as lucky as the Red Bull cars is actually their Mercedes counterpart in ISRL Carter. If you notice, he has not set a time yet, and
he's invalidated.
That will actually be the case, as he's actually invalidated his time. So unfortunately for Carter, he will not be making it through into Q3, and doesn't even have a time to show for it in Q2. So not the qualifying Carter was hoping for here around Circuit Villeneuve, I gotta say.
That is another disappointing qualifying for Carter. We've had a few of them this season, and he's not going to be too happy with himself about that one, I don't believe, unless all of a sudden he'll say, oh, well, you know, I just wanted to qualify in the back, which I've heard too many times from drivers. Never have I believed that to be the case, but nonetheless, down in 15th.
Yeah, now I do have to say I didn't quite get to see who it was, but it might have been Duwil, I believe, who had crossed the line and just set a time, which actually bumped Izat down out of Q3, and Izat is unfortunately still out of Q3 now, finishing in 12th. Feral Fury, after putting up a good fight to put himself up into 8th, he gets knocked down to 11th once it's all said and done, so he won't be able to make it through into the third qualifying. But Gernman, he does just enough to be able to squeeze into that last spot for the top 10 shootout. But it got a little bit more nerve-wracking for him than he was probably originally hoping for after the time he set.
Yeah, that's not even a 10 separating Gurman and Feral Fury, so it was close, but he got into Q3, which is what matters. The Red Bull drivers definitely want to get some good points on the board, and Knight with a P4 in qualifying 2. What a time. That is a 108.7 that he set right there. And look at the gaps between first and fourth. This pole position is going to be crazy close. I mean, look at Duwil. Sweetcrown 19 a little bit further back. Duwil in 5th. He's not too far off. Only 44 hundredths of a second. So down the order in P10, it's only 3/10 separating fastest and slowest in that top 10. Feral Fury, Isaac Kush, Jamian, Jadiant, and Carter knocked out of Q2. Again, Isaac Kush with not a great qualifying in Q2, and he's not making it into the top 10 shootout along, and is not going to be battling along Sweetcrown 19. Let's get into the top 10 shootout, ladies and gentlemen. This is when it all comes down and when it really, really matters. Here is the fight for pole position.
Yeah, and this is going to be an exciting fight to see. It looked like the top 10 were all separated by about maybe 3/10 of a second. First to 13th was actually separated by under half a second. And even then, from 1st to 14th, unfortunately can't count Carter in that one since he actually did not have a time on the board. But 1st to 14th were all separated by about 7/10 of a second. So less than a second gap between pretty much 1st to 14th in that second qualifying. So if that's not making me excited for what we're going to see here in Q3, I don't know what will.
Josh Chu comes out of the pit lane. Infamous Pillars is out of the pit lane. I thought there was a driver just ahead of him, though. In fact, he is the furthest driver out right now, and he'll be the first one out of the pit lane. We also have an Alfa Romeo of extra rotation behind him. And let's get set for action, ladies and gentlemen. It's very busy on track already. 3 drivers out. There's Sweetcrown 19 on an outlap as well. And it's going to get dicey here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to get quick here, ladies and gentlemen. It's top 10 shootout in Q3 at the Canadian Grand Prix. You're watching live coverage of round number 8 of the ISRL Tier 1 Formula World Championship. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the ISRL Esports channel. Hit the bell notification so you never miss a race or video from the channel. If you're interested, visit ISRLesports.com to apply. Join the Discord, and we'll get you into some races. Always looking for new talent. As let's get set. 10 minutes about to expire. We're going to get into the 10 minutes, and let's see who makes it on pole position today. The first man, I believe, is Infamous Pillars, as he's going to come into the chicane and start his first flying lap.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of time he can take. This is probably going to be the first to put a time on the board, assuming the lap goes well. Now, it's looking like a decent first section of corners. We have seen Infamous Pillars put up some very quick times in qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. As, unfortunately, he does invalidate going through turn 3, turn 4 there. It is a very tricky section to get right. I know even I myself cut the inside of the right-hander there, the first corner, a little bit too often. And it seems like Infamous Pillars did a similar mistake, which is unfortunately going to cost him his lap.
Extra rotation is a little further up the grid, actually, than I thought. Ooh, and he almost put it into the wall there. That was some scary scenes right there, as Lewis is on a lap right now. Sweetcrown 19 is on a flying lap right now. ISRL Knight is currently on an lap in that Red Bull coming out of the first sector. And there's Sweetcrown 19, fastest in the second sector.
Yeah, we'll see. Extra rotation had a very strong second sector as well. being, I guess, the new front runner for a time, but he went a little bit wide around the hairpin corner, so that's definitely going to hinder his time as he crosses the line now.
108.9.
Still in the 108, so 108.9, which isn't a bad time per se, but let's see what...
Sweet Crown actually invalidated his time.
Oh, so yeah, so I guess extra rotation still sitting on provisional pole now, as I was expecting the time to be beat. Well, there we go, VR 46, that's a 108.6, and that's actually good enough now for a provisional pole, albeit only 2 times are on the board so far in qualifying.
Infamous Pillars is going around again, and he's gone fastest in the first sector that time, able to navigate that downhill chicane that he invalidated last time on. And now he is in the second sector, navigates that next chicane, and now just the hairpin to go. Fastest in the second sector for Infamous Pillar. So looking to get ahead of Yarno now, who has a 108.6, a pretty impressive time. Not the fastest we've seen so far, with a 108.3 from Sweet Crown 19. So we definitely know Sweet Crown probably still maybe a favorite for pole position. We'll have to wait and see. But here comes Infamous Pillars in that Haas car, about to come into the final chicane. And, he's not going to set a time at all. A little interesting decision, considering he was fastest in the first 2 sectors he navigated.
Yeah, must have been maybe a little bit of a test run there. I know sometimes we don't really get to see the fuel indicator in the commentator's booth, but it could have just been an issue of if he wasn't going to have enough fuel to make it back around again, you might as well go into the pits even though you're setting a decent time, because you're going to lose out on so much time.
ISRL Knight was fastest
around
in the second sector.
Yep, and he's going down the back straight. It's looking like a good lap for him so far, but we'll see how he can do it with the last 2 turns to go. Controversially, the trickiest turns on the entire circuit. Looks like he takes them well. What's it going to be as he crosses the line?
Second.
So 108.8. So good enough for second.
Top 3 for ISRL Knight in the Red Bull, looking to put it in the top 5 at least. ISRL Knight looking for a strong showing in his home race, as we've seen many a times before, not just in ISRL Esports, but many other league races. Very, very strong around Canada, knows this place well, as you would believe he should. He's been to the track before, so he would know how this track is. We'll have to wait and see if he can do all he can to put it high up on the grid today.
Yep, and I was actually watching Knight's teammate Gernman as he's going out on a flying lap now. He set a purple second sector, so it was a very fast second sector, but once again, it looked like he went a little bit wider than you'd originally want to around the hairpin corner, so that might affect his time, and he's actually diving right into the pits. So he aborted that lap right away, so I guess it was not a good lap for Gernman.
Wing damage. Looked like he had end plate damage on his wing.
Yeah, so that would definitely do it. So still no time for Gernman, as now with about 6 minutes to go, it's starting to be a little bit more pressing for drivers to at least put a time on the board.
I want to mention Josh, too, who got fastest in the first sector. He's got his teammate ahead of him, so this could really play into the hands of the Ferrari boys right now, as Josh, too, and a little shaky out of that second sector. Chicane, as he's fastest in the second sector, actually, so this should be pretty good, because now he's going to have his teammate Sophion ahead of him, very close in proximity, so some slipstream going to come into effect right now for Josh 2. This could be a moment for Josh 2 to get on pole position here. We'll have to wait and see. Sophion really slows up, gives him teammate room. This is going to really increase the top end speed, navigates the chicane. Oh, but a big contact to wall, but it's still good. The lap is still good, so he didn't get invalidated. He comes across the line, but only P5. But you have to imagine that big wall hit definitely hurt his chances of getting a little further up the grid, because Josh 2 slammed into the wall of champions. Surprised he didn't crash, to be quite frank. But the top end speed maybe a little bit too much for him to handle, as he slung through the chicane a little bit too quickly, and that could have been an invalidated lap. But it's going to be P6 and P5 right now for the Ferraris, as Lewis has gone second fastest, and then Duwil with a 108.5. That's fastest for Duwil in the Haas. So looking, this Q3 session is really heating up quickly, as Sweet Crown 19 is now coming down that DRS straight, about to come into the chicane. Let's see what the Williams driver can do as he comes out, and Infamous Pillars of a 108.4. What a time! The Haas's are 1-2. They're 2-3 now, because that's a 107.9. Sweet Crown 19 with an amazing pole position lap time, provisional pole position, and that is almost unbeatable. You almost have to imagine a 107.9. Wow.
I was wondering if we're going to see the 107s here in Q3. I didn't want to say anything about it to potentially jinx it, but there we go. Just barely breaking the 107s with a 996, but either way, it's a 107 nonetheless, and that looks nice on the top of the leaderboards, and I'm sure SweetCrowd19 is definitely extremely happy with the time he set. Lewis, he did set a very good time, but he went very wide going around the hairpin, even wider than some of the other wide lines I've seen, so that definitely made him lose out on some time, I would think. But either way, not a bad lap where he's sitting in a provisional 5th place. As I'm seeing, it looks like that's Knight going out for one last lap. Extra rotation, well, he invalidated his lap, so not good anymore. And Gernman, he's actually on a lap, and he's going to have to set a time now. He's really running out of time here in this Q3 session, unless he wants to start from that 10th spot.
What a lap time for pole position. That's a 107.996. That is almost, yeah, it is about 4/10 clear of Infamous Pillars. Wow, what a time. Now, is anybody going to be able to match that? I'll have to wait and see. Yarno is currently setting about to set a lap time in just a lapse time with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. Look at Knight all the way down in 6th. So he has really been outclassed at the moment in qualifying by the drivers ahead of him who have set some blistering lap times. Look at Lewis with some amazing pace in qualifying. A driver who tends to doubt himself a little bit too much, I think, because Lewis easily always has that kind of pace. It's really consistency for him. But Lewis in the top 5 right now. A Haas 2-3. We haven't seen this in ISRL Esports before, but Infamous Pillars and Duo are putting in big work right now. It's the circuits at Villeneuve. Now, we have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be rain in the second half of this race, so we have to not forget that. That could throw this whole race into haywire, but nonetheless, SweetCrowd19 is on pole. He's going to come out again. He thinks he has to improve. I don't think he has to, unless somebody has some hidden pace that we're not aware of. But Yarno has gone around. He's got a Ferrari. He's about to come out. Ooh, there's contact between those two guys. Yarno hits the Ferrari of, I think that was Josh. No, was it Josh 2 or Sophion he hits?
No, it must have been Sophion, because Josh 2 have been riding on board with them, and he's just starting his lap now, so he's actually behind his teammate in Sophion. Now, since you got a better view of that than I did that look a little bit accidental, or do you think that
I think it
VR
was just
playing a little bit of mind games with the constructors battle we've got going on here?
I think that was just a little bit of a tap. It wasn't really anything. I mean, they didn't get damaged. They were side by side out of the exit. Now, maybe Yarno did do that on purpose. I don't know, but if it was not worth reporting, if anything, as Josh 2 goes fastest in the second sector. Now he's got his teammate ahead of him this time. Josh 2 looking for maybe some redemption, because now his Ferrari teammate's going to give him more slipstream a little bit earlier than he did the last time, but he'll get it nonetheless. He'll probably be okay with that, though, because maybe too much speed the last time coming into the chicane. He's going to come braking late, and this time keeps it out of the wall of champions. Here comes Josh 2 in the Ferrari, looking to put it further up the grid. P2, 108.3 for Josh 2. What a time by him. Now Sophion is now going to come around for a lap. Are we going to see the Ferrari teammates play into each other's hands? Now we see Hot Lap is activated for Sophion. Are the Ferraris looking to make this a 2-3? Because now Knight has split the Haas's. It's with a 108.4. I forgot to mention that time, but he is into the top 5. So Knight in that top 4 right now, but he might get knocked down because Sophion's going to be on a big charge right now with his teammate ahead of him. Going to have some slipstream down the DRS, the final DRS straight, as Infamous Pillars has retired from the session into the pit lane. And qualifying is done. Fastest in the second sector for Sophion. So the Ferraris are looking really strong right now. Good exit for Josh 2. That's going to let Sophion get some big momentum on him. Coming down the DRS straight. Here we go. Josh 2 and the Ferraris are playing in hand right now. What SweetCrowd19, 107.8. What a time. Here comes Sophion about to come across the line. What are the Ferraris going to do? And no, he didn't improve. Or did he improve? That's only 9th for Sophion. Only 9th fastest. And Lewis with a dual.
And dual.
Oh my goodness, 108.2.
Yeah, we're seeing all these times starting to fall now, and in a funny little change of pace here. When we were first looking at the, I guess the outlast for the Ferraris, was VR46 up in 2nd or 3rd, with the 2 Ferrari cars down near 8th and 9th, and now it seems like as if the roles are switched now, with Josh up in 4th, VR starting in 8th, and Sophion starting in 9th in that little constructors battle here. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that when we watched Josh 2 get the splitstream down that back straight, a lot of it was caused, he was able to get that splitstream, because VR actually let him go by, albeit Josh was on a flying lap, so it was the polite and the smart thing to do for VR, but that actually allowed him to get that much more pace, being able to splitstream his teammate at the perfect time going down that back straight to the start finish.
Sweet Crown 19 is on pole position, 107.839. That is an unbelievable time here in Canada. Dual going to be 2nd fastest on the grid, an amazing lap time by him. Let's not take anything away. Lewis in the top 3 in qualifying. What a qualifying session. Q3. That was very, very exciting.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. It was hard to keep up with all the times at the right at the end there, and wow, look at that. Between 1st and 9th, all separated by less than a second, and even looking at the top 5, less than 0.6 between them.
And there are your top 10. Sweet Crown, Dual, Lewis, Josh, Infamous Pillars. The Haas is very high up on the grid. Knight not able to make it into the top 5. Extra Rotation in 7th. 8th for Yarno. Sophion in 9th. And Gurman is going to round off the top 10. So the Red Bulls a little separated. But nonetheless, that was Q3. What an exhilarating Q3 it was. But now it's time for the Canadian Grand Prix. My name is ISRL Esports. I'm joined by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. You're watching live coverage of round number 8 of the ISRL Tier 1 Formula World Championship. And we are about to get ready for the race. We'll see if anybody readies up a little bit too early. Remember, if you ready up too early, unless you're the designated driver, it is going to be an automatic qualifying ban, or more if you're a repeat offender. But here we go, Fallen. About to get into the race. Who are you looking at right now? So close in qualifying. And, of course, we do expect to have rain later in the race. Right now, your very early, far too early predictions right now. Who's looking strongest right now, just based on pace alone, to win this race?
Well, you know what? Of course, there's the easy answer of the cop-out answer, I guess, of St. Sucron 19. But you know what? I'm gonna go bold, mostly because I know he can probably hear me if I say this. It's his home track. He's always seemed to perform here with the race. It looks like he's feeling good, getting some thumbs up. Had to whip himself into shape before the race a little bit. I'm calling Knight as my sleeper pick early on in this race.
Of course you would. You just want to be in the house longer. Anyway, but that was probably the safer pick for the future of Fallen's life at stake. Not to not pick Knight is
I pay my rent.
Oh boy. We
refuel a little bit.
We do try to have fun here in the commentators booth. We're just waiting for everybody to get ready with their setups and everything. We'll go over the starting lineup one more time. As you can see, the Ferrari pit crew right there, looking on their screen, looking at the how possibly can we come up with the worst race strategy possible to blow our race. We'll have to wait and see if Sophion and Josh 2 play along with that, but we're still waiting. If we get a repeat of next week, I am going to blow up severely. And considering that I'm still unable to edit the video. I'm still trying to edit the video, and Knight's probably getting impatient. Oh, please. I'm hoping this is just nobody's readied up yet. Like, are we actually going to do this again?
Oh no, nobody's readied up yet. We're still taking a little bit of a breather for the time being, just letting everybody get into the mindset.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go. It's ISRL Knight qualifying ban. Oh, it's terrible. ISRL Knight, yeah. You know, he's already
we're gonna have to report that
already off to a bad start. Already off to a bad start. That's a qualifying ban for Knight. Oh man. Not going to be able to qualify in Mexico anyway. Here we go, 10 seconds until sessions start. We'll go over the formation one more time on the grid. You are watching round number 8, the Canadian Grand Prix. That one single red light comes on to signal the formation lap. Drivers able to warm up their tires. And here we go, and it's Sweet Crown 19 who warms up his tires first on the grid, on pole position with a blistering 107.8 in qualifying. Duel with an amazing P2 in qualifying, followed by ISRL Lewis in P3 in the McLaren. Josh 2 in 4th position, followed by Infamous Pillars in 5th. ISRL Knight is the sleeper pick. He's in 6th position. Before we do that, predicted pit stop strategy, medium, soft, medium, or medium, medium, hard is what AWS is giving us. Of course, F1 Insights presented by Amazon Web Services. It is extra rotation in P7, followed by Yarno in 8th. 9th for Sophion, 10th. Rounding off the top 10 is ISRL Gurman, so the Red Bulls a little closer to each other as Knight not able to make it into the top 5. Feral Fury is in 11th position, followed by Isaac Kush with not the best qualifying position, very far off from his teammate. Usually not what we actually see most of the time, but Olu is putting in some good work right now. Jamian in 13th position, Jadine in 14th, Carter in 15th in the Mercedes. The Mercedes boys have some work to do to get some good points in this race. And Chris is in 16th. Jordan JT is going to be on the grid. There is no Jer in the race. So Jer not here, not going to score any points. That is just going to give huge advantage to Sweet Crown 19 in the championship. No race for Jer in the Canadian Grand Prix. Sweet Crown 19 definitely wants to maximize the amount of points he scores today. But here comes Sweet Crown 19 around that chicane, out of the wall of champions. Final predictions following before we get into the race.
Well, I don't have too much to say in terms of predictions. I know Jer not showing up is going to not help his championship battle, as well as the constructors' battle between the AlphaTauris and the and the Ferrari. I'm hearing about 15 minutes or so up until things can start shaking up a little bit with the rain, as far as my updated weather report. And I'm also noticing that 11th all the way down, they're all starting on the medium tires. So we'll see what that plays as we're getting ready for the 5 red lights.
And it's 3, 4, 5. And the lights are out, and away we go, and it's a pretty decent start. Lewis with an amazing start, already up to P2 in this race. And it looks like in the P2 he goes, and he's going to knock the Haas almost off track. Sweet Crown 19 gets a fantastic start, though. And look at this, ISRL Knight about to go 3 wide, running on the grass, trying to pass Infamous Pillars in P3, and he avoids Infamous Pillars. A little bit of contact, looked like, between extra rotation and Infamous Pillars, and Knight, even though he's not in P1, is showing up on there, and now it's updating a little bit still, but Lewis is in P2 right now. An amazing start by the McLaren driver. Sweet Crown 19 is leading the Canadian Grand Prix. Josh 2 in 4th position, extra rotation in 5th. It's still 6th position actually for Knight, so I thought he made out some progress, but unfortunately the timing sheet was just trying to figure out what was going on in the race. Wasn't doing too well of it, but the brakes already glowing hot on that Red Bull car. As you can see, Infamous Pillars getting a good exit out of the hairpin. Already might try to challenge ISRL Knight coming into the chicane. We'll have to wait and see. But here comes Lewis, already catching up to Sweet Crown 19, bringing down that gap that Sweet Crown created at the start. Blue flags are already waving for some reason. Feral Fury and Isaac Kush are battling down at the grid. And Feral
Fury going he's going into the pits.
Does he have wing damage?
I think he might have taken a little bit of wing damage. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
He does.
He does
very
have
little.
Some wing damage.
It's just an end play. I don't know if you want to necessarily do that just on an end play, but nonetheless, Feral Fury already making an early pit stop. But Sweet Crown 19 leads this Canadian Grand Prix. ISRL Lewis in 2nd position, Duo in 3rd. Josh 2 falling a little bit further back in 4th with extra rotation right on his tail, and ISRL Knight also right on the tail of extra rotation. So the 4th through 6th, a pretty decent battle right now. A little bit further up, but is Duo trying to chase down Lewis, who got a fantastic start in this race, is up to P2, but Sweet Crown 19 leading it.
An extra rotation gets a very nice exit, and he's actually going down the outside, coming into the hairpin of Josh 2. They're still going side by side with the line. It looked like Josh 2 was able to hold it for the time being, but not for long, as extra rotation does take that 4th position away from him.
Here comes Josh 2. Let's see if he can get some slipstream. Here comes ISRL Knight getting very, very close. And he's going to make an inside move into the chicane. And that was very risky from Knight, but he fortunately did not get any damage. But now Infamous Pillars are going to be over the back of Knight. He's going to try to challenge on the inside in the turn 1. Some contact between the Red Bull and the Haas. And DRS has now been enabled side by side coming out of turn 2. Infamous Pillars, it looks like Knight has the advantage. Oh, no, he doesn't. As Infamous Pillars gets better traction on the inside coming to chicane is Knight. More contact between them, and now the Ferrari. No, look at this, and now Gurman is catching up between them, and now here comes Knight as he's right on the rear diffuser of the Ferrari of Sophion, that is, and he's going to try to get back ahead of him now. And now he's got Yarno behind him in the AlphaTauri. Gurman is very, very close to him as well, but Knight is losing a lot of positions in this race, and he is getting a little overwhelmed right now as, look at that, still making, there's somebody off track. That was Lewis. Lewis is off track. He had a crash, and we didn't see what happened there. But Lewis is all the way down in 15th position. He's got some wing damage on him, and now Kush and Gurman are going side by side out of the hairpin. A big drag race down the straight. Gurman is the one with DRS, though. So is Kush. Isaac Kush down in 9th position, and Knight gains a position up in P7. But that was some crazy scenes there. Lewis had a moment, and he spun for some reason. We don't know exactly what happened. But Chris now into the pits, and so is Lewis. So a crazy scene there in that race. Could have been disastrous if it had not been for ghosting.
Yeah, that was a crazy little half of a lap there. I wish I would have been able to see what happened to Lewis to have a little bit more insight, but unfortunately I was just too caught up trying to catch the battle between Knight, Sophion, VR, Infamous Pillars, that the whole string of 4 to 6 cars there. But thankfully it is only lap 4, so there's still lots of racing to go and lots of time to work your way back up the grid, as Jediant is able to pass Gurman on track to move up and do 10th now.
I believe Sophion a little bit further back than he'd like to be from Infamous Pillars. He's going to want to catch up to him. Josh 2 trying to hold him up a little bit. It's a bit of a Ferrari sandwich for Infamous Pillars right now, as he's got Josh 2 ahead of him and Sophion behind. But Sophion almost outside of DRS range. There goes Knight with his DRS flap opening. He's going to give some overtake as well, possibly. No, he's actually very low on overtake, so he used a lot of it on that race. He's going to have to save it up a little bit throughout this session now of the race. Lap 5 as we go with Sweet Car 19 in the lead. And here comes Infamous Pillars. He's going to try to challenge on the inside, looks on the inside. Ultimately, he doesn't make the move, though. Gurman is into the pits early as well. I don't know if he picked up any damage, as yes, he is going to replace his front wing. There's actually some serious element and end plate damage on the right side, and ooh, there goes the first 3-second time penalty, and it is going to be Knight. So with that 3-second time penalty added on to the end of his race time. But going further up the grid, it's now Duo back in second position. Sweet Crown 19 is leading the Canadian Grand Prix. 1.8 seconds ahead of Duo. Extra rotation a little bit further back from Duo. The big battle right now is Infamous Pillars chasing down Josh 2 in 5th position. Sophion back behind him by almost a second. And Knight a little bit closer to Sophion, though. So definitely that's the battle we'll have to watch right now. As a little bit further down the grid, Isaac Kush currently in P9 trying to chase down Yarno. And he is about 3/10 back. So we have to be making the look a move in the hairpin soon.
Yeah, the nice little, was it maybe a 4 or 5 car battle here, and I'm seeing even Izad is trying to get his, he's trying to get a bit of a move on.
He's got unplate damage. He's got end plate damage on the looks like to be the right side of his car.
Yeah, it must have been maybe clipped the wall of champions a lap ago or so, or I'm not too sure what happened, but either way, it doesn't look like it's affecting him too much in terms of at least keeping up with the VR46. But we'll see if he, we'll see how that plays out as the race goes along. If we have some rain coming in some point in this race, having that end plate damage could actually affect a lot more. But look at that, Lewis coming out of the pits and actually setting a fastest lap on those medium tires. So he's definitely keeping his head down and just trying to make up as much time as he possibly can to hopefully be in a position of contention later on in this race.
But that's a 3-second time penalty as well for Lewis. And Isaac Kush, a big lockup into the hairpin, right still in the back of Yarno, who was now outside of a second tonight. So he is not going to have DRS. Isaac will, but he's already side by side of him before the DRS straight. Now he opens the DRS. Doesn't have to use overtake in this situation. It's an easy pass on the AlphaTauri, and he moves up in the 8th position. And there goes Yarno.
Oh yeah, there goes Yarno into the pits. Cause I was going to say that was definitely a very easy move from Izat. Sorry, I was getting a little bit distracted as I noticed Feral Fury. Unfortunately, he had left the session, so hopefully those connection issues can get sorted out sooner rather than later for his sake and the sake of everybody else on track. Infamous Pillars once again putting all the pressure in the world on Josh too, as I'm starting to see some cloud cover approaching the Montreal area here. So we might start seeing some rain in the potential near future of this race.
About 4:10 separating Infamous Pillars and Josh 2 a bit further back behind him. Sophion looming in the distance though, so still some backup Ferrari power with Sophion. But here comes Infamous Pillars. Josh 2 is out of DRS range, so it's going to be all slipstream for Infamous Pillars. Might make to look a move inside the hairpin. We'll have to wait and see if he can get close enough coming to the hairpin. I don't think he will. He will stay behind him for the moment, but now on that start-finish straight, we might start to see a move. 3-second time penalty for Josh 2. Multiple warnings, cutting too many corners. And now Knight has passed Isaac Kush. It looked like there was a move. Yarno has made a move on Fatal Fury, who is now out of the session. Lap 8 of 35. You can see the overcast is coming in and some rainfall about to begin soon. I still don't have any on my screen, as I'm still waiting to see the first rain droplets.
It appears
it looks like it is.
Yeah, it appears as though, from what I can see on my little the permanent.
There it is. I see him now. I see him now.
I'm starting to see a few some drizzle. And,
it is coming.
Depending on how quickly this starts to escalate, this might be exactly what some of these soft tire runners were hoping to see. Just because from what I can see based on the tire wear, it looks like the rear tire is already up near 50% wear, at least as far as I can see on Knight's screen here. So I figure a lot of the other soft tire runners are probably in a bit of a similar area of wear, so they're probably hoping to go softs and directly onto the inter tires and not have to make that extra pit stop for another set of dry tires.
So the rain is coming down. We'll see who makes the first pit stop. It's still pretty dry on track, so we'll have to wait and see how long it takes for the rain to start really evolving the track into wet conditions. Josh 2 is all on the back of extra rotation right now, as the change of the interchangeable conditions is going to make this race a little bit more interesting for the dry tires right now. We'll see if we see any crazy moves. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Chris has retired from the session.
Oh, that's a safety car.
So he crashed somewhere.
Safety car out. It looks like from what I can see on the mini-map, it looks like as if it might have been an incident in the Wall of Champions. I think he might have potentially hit the Wall of Champions and just the car shot out on the other side of the track, as looks like that's Chris's race over just like that. I'm going to jump to Sweet Crown 19 in the meantime, and actually it looks like the car did disappear, so I wasn't able to see it.
Did despawn. Now, we're under safety car. It's still raining. Sweet Crown 19 is going to come into the pits. Now, what tire does he put on?
Yeah, that's the big question of what is he going to do, and it looks like a lot of these drivers are coming into the pits. The top 3 are. Josh is staying out. And it looks like as if, nope, he's going on another set of dries.
Mediums. What's Duo doing? Duo's on the inters. So is extra rotation.
Oh, so this is going to be interesting here, because Sweet Crown 19 went on the medium tires, and he also had to change his front wing. So he did take a little bit of front wing damage at some point, Sweet Crown 19 did. And now, because of that, it was a shortened pit stop out of the safety car, but he is out in 4th, and if this rain starts picking up, he's going to have to pit again to put on those intermediate tires.
That is the big thing with this safety car, is it prolongs the opportunity for it to get more wet, because those inter-tire runners are being saved a little bit by that.
Well, that's the thing, and it does actually look like as if the rain is starting to pick up, because I'm starting to see a bit more rainfall. I'm actually starting to see the rain on the T-Cam screen with the onboard now, where we couldn't really see it beforehand. So this might actually be a bit of a crucial mistake for Suicrown 19, as he might have made the wrong tire choice depending on how the
I'm seeing some spray. I'm seeing a little bit of spray, a little bit. It's very small, but I'm seeing a little bit of spray on the tires. I think Suicrown 19 might have made a blunder here. We'll have to wait and see how much that affects his race, but Suicrown might have to make a pit stop rather soon again to put on inters.
That's the thing, and I'm trying to keep an eye and
he is into the pits.
19, back into the pits.
Wow, this is big scenes right here. Suicrown 19 elects to do another pit stop because he thinks it's time for inters, and this has really thrown a wrench into his race. Not something unless he made a mistake, but this is inter tires, and now he's going to be well down the grid.
Yeah, falling all the way down the order now, but thankfully for him, he's got a few other drivers who seemingly also made a similar mistake. Oh my goodness. And the leader, Josh, too, he's opted to stay out on those medium tires, too. And I'm riding on board with him, and I actually watched him, even under the safety car, get a little bit of a tank slapper coming through this first sector. So it definitely seems like as if the inter tires are probably the best tires to be on. I think it is time now. The changeover period has come. And Josh is probably going to be kicking himself for not having pit with everybody else to get on those intermediate tires.
So it looks like Chris saying that his controller turned off mid-corner, which is the problem.
Oh my goodness, that's heartbreak. If that's heartbreak for Chris, that his race is over just like that due to a controller malfunction. But unfortunately, I guess not much we can do about it now. And I guess thankfully, a little bit of a side note, he can.
Josh too is sitting like a duck right now. You can see the spray really coming off those inters now. Josh too is going to have to make a pit stop now because it's all over for him right now. Unfortunately, he's not going to have that kind of buffer that Suicrown had because he's only down in 8th right now on the inters. But it's still going to be tough for Suicrown to make that progress in the rain. But nonetheless, there goes Josh too, and that is something he is going to be very unhappy about, not making that pit stop when he did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, given how
with a wing change.
Yeah, with a wing change too, no less. And who is that? It looks like that's Mercedes as well, of Carter.
Now, Carter already had inters on, and he's got wing damage. Now, did he hit somebody, or did he hit the wall somewhere?
It might have been a potential wall contact under the safety car. I'm not too sure what happened to him, but that's definitely not what. Oh, so it looks like he did actually hit the wall right around turn 4, I would say. Turn 3, turn 4. I'll call it the Vettel chicane, I guess is probably the best way I can name it for the time being. I don't really know what the actual turn name is there. But takes it a little bit better this time around, he does. But now he's going to have to catch up to the back of that safety car line.
We got to talk about Haas here. Big points opportunity. Duel looking for a win opportunity right now. Extra rotation splitting the two Haas's, though. But this is really big time right now for the American outfit to get some really good points on the board. Safety car is in this lap. Suicrown has gained 1 position because of that pit stop. But it is going to get very interesting on the restart of this race as we're about to get under racing now with intermediate conditions.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing where Suicrown, he is still only in 7th, and that's still definitely doable for the talent and speed Suicrown has to make it up 6 spots, especially with everybody being as bunched up as they are with the safety car restart. But Duel is the impromptu safety car, and it looks like he is just now going to be starting.
What happened with extra rotation right there? He just went off track. The safety car restart has started. Extra rotation at a moment in the chicane right there, and we are under green racing conditions. Extra rotation now under pressure already from Infamous Pillars, who extra rotation at an off track. I don't know what happened, why he missed the chicane right there. So Fion now under pressure from ISRL Knight, who got a pretty good restart as well. Further down the pack, it's Gurman and Yarno, and Yarno, look at this, side by side with Lewis and Yarno. That was very, very close to be making contact. Infamous Pillars has a 3-second time penalty already, though.
Yep, German got a penalty there, and I saw Sucrow 19 had a very nice start and was actually able to pass Jamie 1 on the run-up to turn 1. Jamie 1 did try to battle for the spot, but it seemed like as if it was for naught, as Sweet Crown is already up into 6th, and now he's trying to work his way back up the grid. He's got Knight to take on next once he can close the gap, so we'll see what happens once this battle starts to kick off.
So P6 for Sweet Crown right now. He already made up a position, so making progress. He's about 7/10ths back from Knight. No DRS now, though, to help you in the slipstream because of the rain. So we'll see how much progress Sweet Crown can make in this race. But right now, on lap number 13, he's not in first. He's down in 6th after that blunder in the pit lane.
Yeah, we'll see, but the gaps are still very, very close, so it's still anybody's race to take with the safety car restart. But crucially, DeWill already has a 1-second gap to second, which is extra rotation. So that's exactly the start DeWill was hoping for.
Look at this, Sweet Crown already challenging Knight now, almost on the inside of him, coming out of turn 2. So Sweet Crown already making major progress in this race, catching up to Knight, and that's how much of the speed difference between them. Knight looked for a that could have been an inside move for Sweet Crown as he took a really wide line coming out of that turn.
Oh, and Sweet Crown actually had a bit of a tank slapper there, so he's going to lose out on a little bit of time to Knight. Thankfully, if you're Knight, but we'll see. That might only last you about a corner or two, given the pace Sweet Crown has, is already back up right behind that Red Bull car.
About 7/10ths of a second, though, so not totally caught back up to him. Kush now is close. Ooh, almost hit the back of Giant, as it's very hard to get the car stopped now in these rainy conditions, especially if you lock up. Gurman has lost some positions, and now he's side by side of Josh 2 coming out of the hairpin. Josh 2's right there, and he gets back ahead of Gurman, and now Gurman's going to try to make a challenge. Knight has another 3-second time penalty. He cut a large portion of that chicane. The Knight is really starting to rack up some penalties, so could be interesting later on into this race. We got some side-by-side action. Look to be Isaac Kush trying to go on the inside. And look at this, Josh 2 side-by-side of Yarno coming into the first turn. Still side-by-side. Now the second turn. Hanging it around the outside. Who's going to get better traction? It should be Yarno who gets better traction. Oh, Gurman's had a spin! And big blink damage for him. And that was not what he wanted to have happen in this race, and that's a yellow flag in Sector 1, but it's Gurman who has had a spin and major wing damage. That's going to be at the pit stop for him.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gurman, that was right at turn 2.
I gotta interrupt here because look at here, Sweet Crown 19 on the inside of Knight coming into that uphill chicane, and Knight has lost a position, and Sweet Crown up to P5.
Yeah, so Sweet Crown going to be starting the trek now. He's got a 2-second gap to close to Sophion now, who he himself has a 2-second gap to Infamous Pillars. But I was just saying, it's a little bit unfortunate for Gurman that it happened on turn 2, because now he's going to have to go another full entire lap in these intermediate conditions, which are not looking all that great, with wing damage no less, to try to work his way back to the pits and get that changed.
Sweet Crown 19, MP5, 1.4 seconds back from Sophion. Knight is still keeping him honest, though, not totally out of this battle just yet. 4/10 separating the two drivers right now, so Knight definitely wants to get back up into the top 5. As I had a little bit of a moment there, as Gurman, look at this, battling with Fatal Fury. Carter looking on the inside of Josh 2, down in 13th position. Josh 2 really must be unhappy with himself after that blunder. Fatal Fury is back ahead of Gurman, and Gurman now into the pits now. He's got even more wing damage on the car, so he hit the wall somewhere else again as well. Carter, though, looking to get ahead of Josh 2. The battle between the Mercedes and the Ferrari right now. He's got Yarno ahead of him, P12. So Carter actually able to get some battling going on right now thanks to that rain.
Yep, and we'll see what he can do about it. And seeing Lewis very close to Jordan, they're actually nearly side by side as they went through the chicane coming down to the hairpin. It looks like Lewis is able to get the move stick. Now, can he hit the braking? Yes, he does. So solid drive by Lewis as he's up into 10th now after overtaking the racing point of Jordan JT.
Infamous Pillars, look at this, in P3, looking to get ahead of Extra Rotation. Extra Rotation is now 6/10 back from Duwil, so it's a Ferrari sandwich for the Alfa Romeo of Extra Rotation, but he is looking to get ahead of Duwil and make it a Alfa Romeo on top with the Haas's on the bottom. And we'll see if he can just do that, as 5/10 are separating first and second position, with 8/10 separating third and second. So Fion a little bit further back, 2.5 seconds. Sweet Crown 19 all over the back of him right now, as Sweet Crown looking to make a move soon up into P4.
Yep, and this is where, if you're still Fion, I know this might not be the driver you're looking to battle, but might want to try to keep him behind you a little bit, maybe force the championship leader to make
same
a mistake,
position he made on Night, and here he goes, up in the P4.
Very nice move and nice braking by Sweet Crown to make the move stick up into fourth, and he's gonna have to now close this near 3-second gap to start battling for those podium positions.
All that progress Sweet Crown is making. You can watch more of the progress Sweet Crown has made over the course of his ISRL career if you subscribe to ISRL Esports. Hit that bell notification to never miss a race. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure to leave a like. Thank you to everybody who's watching live coverage of round number 8 of the Tier 1 Formula World Championship in ISRL Esports. It's Duwil who is leading the Canadian Grand Prix Extra Rotation in second position, and it's Infamous Pillars, the Ever Haas, in third, with Sweet Crown 19 hunting them down in fourth position. And that was once it's about 2.9 seconds now, so he's actually lost a little bit of time in the in this race. And look at this, there's a yellow flag somewhere. I think that's Gurman's crashed.
So Gerdman, he spun around a little bit, and I was actually going to touch upon that. Gerdman went for a bit of a bold strategy.
Oh, and Yarno almost lost it. And now Carter's passed him too.
Oh no, that's very unfortunate for
Yarno.
Oh,
and Carter hit the wall.
Oh, did he?
He did hit the wall. He's got in-plate damage on that Mercedes now, so the rain is really starting to hurt the drivers here, as now both Yarno and Carter have had moments, but it's Carter with wing damage. Lewis has picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's made a move on Jedian, and they're still side by side. Ultimately, Lewis, though, does get the position. Jedian might make a move on the inside. He's going to look there. He actually hits the back of Lewis, and is going to really ride the curb right there. Isaac Kush close to Jamian. So a little bit of a battle going on right now for P8 in this race. Lewis in P9. Jedian looking to make a move on the inside. A little bit too far back, though, for that to work.
Yeah, now I'm going to quickly jump extra rotation. He's going to try a move down the inside for the lead. Thought about it, but making sure to leave lots of space for Duwil, where Duwil is actually able to outbrake just enough to keep that first, but that was very close going into the first turns there. Now, I was just mentioning about Gurman. He's on the wets. He's trying the wet tires, which seemed a little bit too early at the time, but now I'm seeing Jedian coming out of the pits, and he himself is putting on the full wets. So we might actually see another round of pit stops here if this rain is keeping up the way it is, because it might be in a bit of another changeover period where it's the Inters might not be the best tire anymore compared to the their full wet counterparts.
Unfortunately for Gurman, I think it's a little bit too far back to capitalize, but Jedian is not too far back in this race on that wet compound tire, so he might get some really good position in this race if drivers are starting to elect to go onto the wet compound tire, which I believe, based on what I can see on my screen at least, that might be the tire to be on right now, because it is starting to pelt here at the Circuit de Villeneuve. So it's going to be, and I think I heard their Night looking, and there we go into the pits. It's time for wet compound tires.
Yeah, it seems
and
like it.
This is going to really throw another part into the race. Sweet Crown 19 stays out.
Yeah, so Sweet Crown 19, I guess he's opting to stay out once again for at least one more lap on those intermediate tires.
Is this the right strategy?
I don't think so, just because I'm taking a look at the gap between Jedian and VR, and I've just been seeing that gap fall like crazy. Jedian has been making so much time over this last little half a lap. It seemed like the gap went from what seemed like 8.2 down to 6.4 or something really silly like that. So it does look like as if the wet tires are the tires to be on, at least from what I can see with our limited analytics. So I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing these top five top 5 getting off those intermediate tires and getting on the full wets.
Sweetcar 19 is staying out in this race.
He had a
moment there.
He had a bit of a moment, and almost broke his front wing driving it into the wall.
So Knight is in P3. But he's on the inters as well. Lewis is Isaac Kush is right behind him and almost makes a move on the outside as he tried to stop the car.
All top 5 are on the intermediate tires. Do Will in 6th. He is the leader on the wet tires, so he might be the net leader of the races. There we go. Sweet Crown going into the pits. Now is that let's take a look. Sophion going into the pits. And that's Knight going into the pits, and Izat following right behind, and and there goes Lewis right behind as well. So as expected, we are seeing the top 5 remaining drivers on those intermediate tires going and putting on the full wets.
So Duwill will come across the line with his wet compound tires and keep the lead of this race. Sweet Crown 19 will come out. Does he get ahead of... He does get ahead of extra rotation. Wow. Unbelievable right there. Extra rotation must be livid right now not to come out ahead of Sweet Crown, even though he went to the wet tires first.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. And I guess that shows just the pace that Sweet Crown 19 has, given that he was actually in about 4th during this most recent pit stop window we just had, and he actually jumped extra rotation and Sophion, I think, in the pits now just by staying out that extra lap. So Sweet Crown 19 pulling a good strategy call, with just kind of making up for his blunder early on in the race. But that's only part of the battle. Now it's a matter of sticking it out for another 15, 14 laps and staying consistent enough to keep that to keep the car on the track.
We'll have to wait and see if he can do that. He's got extra rotation behind him, though. Drops back a little bit, about 0.7 of a second separating them. Sweet Crown 19, 2.8 seconds to the leader, Du Will, who is leading this Canadian Grand Prix, lap 21 of 35. Now, I don't know if it's going to stay wet in this race. We'll have to wait and see. Extra rotation gets a little bit closer on this lap, though. The Sweet Crown 19 and Infamous Pillars has made a move on Sophion. Does Sophion challenge back on the inside? No, he does not.
Yeah, thought about it there for a little bit, but Infamous Pillars had just a better exit out of the Wallet Champion chicane that he was able to make that move stick without even needing the DRS, as I figured has been disabled given the wet weather conditions we have currently. As there's that safety car now.
Who crashed? I think
I'm not too sure.
Is it Carter? What's going on with Carter? Now he's going quite slow.
Yeah,
he's still
like
good.
Everyone's going a little bit slow. I'm not too sure.
Somebody just came out. Somebody was in the. I think tried to go into the pit lane. I think it was Feral Fury, but I think he missed the pit lane, and as you can see, he's replacing. I'm not too sure what happened there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened. I don't know if it was just one of those. The game.
I gotta be honest with you.
Raining. The only thing I can think of is the game saying, well, it's pouring rain.
You can't see anything right now.
Yeah, like Canada 2011 vibes where
this is
hopefully
insane.
We're not waiting for 4 hours.
It's a monsoon right now. Look how heavy it's raining. You can barely see anything in the distance. This is treacherous right now. I don't know if maybe the team...
I'm thinking maybe that's why they did call it the safety car. It was just the game making it rain so hard that they just had to opt the safety car.
I've never seen that happen before. I don't know about that one. I think my suspense of belief is not that high, but maybe that is the case. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, we're under safety car conditions now. If you're Will, you might not be too happy about that one, because that means Sweet Crown is going to be right on your back at the restart.
Yeah, not what you're hoping for if you're Will. I noticed Jamie one had just gone into the pits, had to get a wing damage, so potentially could have been him as well for a potential, rock in the wing on the wall and bringing out a safety car because of an inevitable crash. I'm not too sure. I'm just throwing out some speculations here. But yeah, now with the gap closed, if you're Will, you're gonna have to make sure that you have the perfect start once we can actually restart in the wets, because you know that Sweet Crown 19 is going to be right up behind you, looking to get that first place back after having to fight up the order for the last few laps.
So Dual in the lead, Sweet Crown 19 in second, Extra Rotation in third, Infamous Pillars is in fourth, Sophion in fifth. Knight has not had a great race so far, down in P8. Compared to where he qualified, 2 places down, looking to make up some progress later in this race, but very difficult to do so when you're on these wet compound tires. Really, you're almost thinking about just surviving in the race, because it's very difficult to get them in the temperature range. You can see Knight swerving the car, very jittery as he was trying to get... What happened?
So, I'm just noticing Infamous Pillars, he's actually going into the pits, and he's changing his wing. So I think there might have been an incident under the safety car. Maybe Infamous Pillars hit the wall or ran into another car, broken end plate, but unfortunately that's going to bring him all the way down the order from where he was up into, I believe it was third or fourth, or at least a top 5, I think. So that's not really what he was hoping for here with now as we're going on 10, 11 laps to go.
Lap 24 of 35. Yarno was serving some sort of penalty, I think, because they didn't work on the car for about 5 seconds there before touching it. Now he has to get his wing replaced as well, and he's going back onto new hard tires. So that's a really long pit stop for Yarno. Gurman, look at that, about a minute back, pretty alone in this race. Hopefully he can catch up and get into the battle here, as I think he is going to catch up soon.
But I think so, but unfortunately I think Gerdman is in a spot where he's lapped now, so he's going to catch up to the queue, but I don't think it's going to mean much, as unless he's actually allowed to overtake the safety car and everybody. I think he's just going to be stuck in no man's land on the restart, just trying to, I guess, stay out of everybody else's way during the battles.
So it is pouring conditions. You cannot see anything in this Canadian Grand Prix. Lap 24 of 35, Dual, your leader. Sweet Crown in second still after that blunder. Just shows the kind of progress he can make. And look at the onboard right there of Sweet Crown 19. That looks like the the Earth embodiment of hell, if I ever saw it, looking down in these crazy rain conditions.
Yeah, it's not looking like great conditions at all. Thankfully, we're up here in the commentator's booth and not in the car having to deal with these treacherous conditions. But I think the true test of the conditions is going to be once the safety car does actually end up coming in, and we're going to be seeing these cars racing at full speed rather than cruising around the circuit as they are now. And hopefully it's this lap. I'm excited to see some full wet races. And some full wet racing, as I don't think we've had too much of that so far in this in season 3.
Have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see, but you know, I still think Duwill's gonna have a great start. Now, this race has shown that Sweet Crown 19, well, he is human. He can make mistakes, whether it comes to the strategy or even potential putting
Here's
too much,
the safety car
gas
in this lap.
Oh yeah, so we'll start seeing some racing soon enough, as Duwill will become the impromptu safety car now for the restart.
And there's behind him. Ooh, big 5-second penalties for people. Gurman got one with Infamous Pillars. So he hit Infamous Pillars somewhere. Infamous Pillars is in 11th, so that is going to be a little incriminating on Gurman, because now Pillars got a penalty himself, I believe, so we might see a post-race penalty as well for him. But here we go. Duo gets back underway. Sweet Crown 19 behind him, and ooh, a really good restart for Sweet Crown 19 already on the back of Duo. Here we go, green flag racing, and Isaac Kush has already made a move on Sophion, and here we go, green, 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 and Duo is in the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix, but barely, as he's trying to struggle the car around in these rainy conditions. Has it lightened up a little bit? It looks a little bit more light than I remember. Maybe it was just the camera angle. Yeah, that might be it, because here we go. Look at the onboard shot right now. Sweet Crown 19 trying to follow Duel. It's going to be very tough to make a reliable overtake anywhere concerning these conditions. Gurman has another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Yep, look at Sweet Crown 19 on the inside of Duel, and look, almost on the inside into that chicane, but Duel keeps alive. Josh 2 has now made a move on Jedian on the inside, and what amazing move, and now look at this.
Actually, Lewis trying to make a move too. Down the inside of Jedi, just trying to follow Josh 2's path.
Big move on the inside.
Here we go. Now it works for him as Lewis moves up into 8th after basically just sticking right behind Josh 2 and saying wherever he goes,
here comes Sweet Crown 19 side by side with Duel coming into the chicane, and Duel keeps ahead of Sweet Crown 19. Yeah, now he's going to challenge again.
Yeah, Duel doing a good job of defending the powerhouse of Sweet Crown 19, showing he can compete in these treacherous wet weather conditions. We'll see for how long, though, as there's still a good 8 laps to go. And it's one thing to hold off Sweet Crown 19 for 1 lap, it's another to hold him off for 8 laps.
This is turning out to be an amazing race. Look at Isaac Kush trying to catch up the extra rotation, and he's got Sophion a little bit further back. Anything can happen. There's ISRL Knight in 6th position, looking to get into the top 5. He's ahead of Josh 2, Sophion's teammate, who is ahead of Knight. Let's see if he can get further up the grid. And Sweet Crown losing a little bit of progress on Duel that he had in the last lap, so we'll see if he can still gain that momentum and possibly make a move on that what normally is a very long DRS straight, but of course in these dangerous rainy conditions that's not the case. Big lockup from Sweet Crown 19, getting better traction though out of the exit, and so close, 0.4 of a second just separating between Duel and Sweet Crown 19. And look at this, getting close to the back of Duel. Is he going to make a move on the inside? He might look about it. He looks on the inside, but ultimately too far back.
Yeah, a little bit too far back, get the move this time around, but now he's got a second bite at the cherry. If he gets the good exit down the start-finish straight, Duel doing a good job protecting the inside, and that was enough to keep Sweet Crown 19 behind him for another lap.
Infamous Pillars is out.
He's out. He actually retired in the pit lane.
Oh,
so
man.
Not the race he was hoping for, and that's his Grand Prix.
Very disappointing considering where he was in this race. He was in P4 at one time, and just very disappointing way to end with that penalty he received with the safety car stuff. We'll have to wait and see post-race if anything happened further that caused him to falter in this race.
Yeah, that's the thing, and especially I think he was still running in the points, being in the top 15. Unfortunately, now he has forfeited any points that he might have been able to finish with. But actually, oh my goodness, who was that? That was
extra rotation. He cut the chicane there.
Cut the chicane, missed the braking point. Actually let Isaac Kush actually pass him for that last podium spot. So now extra rotation is going to have to battle now to get that 3rd place back from Isaac.
I want to ride on board. Look at this. Josh 2 is under pressure right now from ISRL Lewis. Knight is still trying to catch up to Sophion, but has lost a lot of time to the back. Extra rotation still behind Isaac Kush, though. And Sweet Crown has actually dropped back from Duel. Is the pressure about to give way a little bit between Duel and Sweet Crown 19, or is he still going to get right back up, as he is still very close? But there was that 1 lap challenge on the safety car restart, but since then it's been a little bit harder for Sweet Crown to mount one.
We'll see. One of the things I actually want to check with them is what the energy is like. Because of course, with the lack of DRS, you're going to be relying a lot on your ERS in order to actually get most of your overtakes done. And okay, so they do both have about 90% overtake available. So it is a bit of an even battle for the lead between those 2 cars. So it's more of a matter of who can be more tactical in their usage of their ERS. But and we have I think that's Gernman. Gernman once again not having the race he was hoping for, as he's unfortunately struggling in these wet conditions.
Dual in the lead of the race with using that overtake. So is Sweet Crown 19. Riding on board of Sweet Crown 19, not really gaining any time down the straight. And Dual is doing very well to defend against Sweet Crown 19. Looking for his first victory here in the Canadian Grand Prix. Extra rotation with a 3-second time penalty. Cush has made a pretty decent gap on him. 2 seconds back, Isaac Cush is on Sweet Crown 19. Sweet Crown gained a little bit down the start-finish line. Still looking to get ahead of Dual.
Yeah, they've gotten very, very close, but just not close enough for Sweet Crown 19 to get the move done. But crucially, they have both been, as much as they've been battling, they've actually been building a bit of a gap to third place in Isaac Cush in extra rotation. So they're still battling, but they're battling with speed at the very least, which is not really helpful for Isaac, who's trying to close the gap to maybe get a little bit of a bite at the cherry himself.
It is 1.5 seconds now, so it's dropped down about half a second. Sweet Crown 19 is losing time because, well, he's not able to get ahead of Dual, so that's going to cost him some time, and Isaac now is starting to close in up on these two drivers ahead.
Yeah, so we'll see if he is able to close up and actually start battling himself. That could make things very interesting with this three-car battle. As Gernman, he does DNF from the race, so I think he might have hit the wall of champions a little bit too hard on his last lap, and that's his race over just like that, here with 5 laps to go.
Sweet Crown 19 just not able to make up the progress necessary to mount a challenge for the victory. Dual is still in the lead of this Canadian Grand Prix. While that is happening, Isaac Cush continues to push down the gap. 1.5 seconds. Last lap it was 2 seconds. And is now starting to decrease it even more, as because Sweet Crown continues to be behind, that's going to slow him up, and Isaac Cush can now try to mount a challenge for possibly P2 in this race. Extra rotation in 4th with Sophion in 5th, and Knight now back within a second of Sophion, looking to get into the top 5 in this race. Would be a nice little moment for him. We'll have to wait and see if that can occur. But Sweet Crown 19, really the focus here right now as he tries to get ahead of Dual.
Yeah, so we'll see if he can get the move done, as we have another yellow flag. And who is that?
Yarno and Carter had some incidents.
Yeah, so Yarno.
Oh, and it's a crash! Yarno into the wall. He's still alive, but that's some major wing damage on him.
Yeah, so a bit of a from here to 0 for Yarno, as not quite the back half of the race he was hoping for. Now I'm seeing Feral Fury with 4 laps to go. He's opting to put on the intermediate tires, so he's going to go back. He feels as if the wet weather is over and it's time for inters.
Here we go. Sweet Crown 19 is very, very close. He's going to challenge on the inside into the turn 1, and he's not going to get it done. Dual keeps the lead. Isaac Cush is now within a second of Sweet Crown 19. It's going to get very, very dicey here in the final few laps. And look at this, Josh 2. No front wing.
I think there was a bit of an incident between probably
safety car deployed. Safety car has been deployed in this race, and this is going to be very, very interesting. Lewis has been disqualified.
Oh my goodness, sorry, I've been trying to catch a little bit. It seemed like as if Josh 2 might have just missed his braking point and ran into the back of Knight. Now, Lewis was disqualified, and I really don't know what he did. Now, let's just take the time, and I'm just going to take a peek at the race director to see if I can get any indication on what happened there. I'm just going to have to scroll through all of the warnings and the 3-second time penalties for corner cutting.
What? Oh my goodness. Lewis has been disqualified from the session. I can't believe I didn't even read what happened.
So unfortunately for Lewis, he received too many penalties, and he actually got disqualified. Now what happened, which caused it, looks like he got a warning for exceeding track limits, multiple warnings as a 3-second, and he actually got one last warning for illegal time gained. which I believe was enough to provide the disqualification. So I think it was that last little illegal time gain that did it for him. Not too sure what happened, but unfortunately for him, that's his race over. So close to the end now.
Now I want to talk about this. I'm assuming it won't finish under safety car, but there's only 3 laps to go. A lot of the grid is very separated from each other. This is going to be interesting. Not everybody's going to really benefit from this safety car. As you can see, the grid is very spaced out. I'm assuming the safety car will slow up in order to allow a restart, but I've never seen the safety car finish a race. I don't think it's going to today, though.
No, I don't think it would, or it'd be a little anticlimactic and very upsetting if it does end the race under a safety car. But we'll have to see, because I don't know if I've ever seen a safety car come out this late in the race. I don't think I've seen ever a safety car come out with 2-3 laps
safety car in this lap. Safety car is in this lap, and not everybody has caught up to it, and that is going to upset some for sure, because usually the safety car is helping it. It bunches up the pack, right? It's not going to happen now because there's some drivers who are way left out of this. Yarno gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and yeah, some drivers are going to be a little screwed over in that moment.
Yeah, it seems like it, but it seems like for the most part, a lot of the, I guess, the prime competitors have caught up, or at least in terms of the, for the lead. But here we go now, so we're going to start off. Will Sweetcar 19 get the start he needs to make the move off the restart, or will hold on to that position?
I don't know what Chilmo's talking about. I'm not really freaking out. I raised my voice once. But anyway, Will is in the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Sweet Crown 19 is trying to chase him down, and he is 5/10 out of that position and did not get the restart like he did in the last session. Now you can see the rain is definitely a lot better than it was in the few laps ago, so maybe the intermediate tires are the tire to be on, but we'll have to wait and see if he can get up to that position. He's not going to be able to do it, though, I don't think. Look at this. He's losing a lot of time to Duo. Now 7/10 back. Isaac Kush might be looking to make a move up in the P2 with Sweet Crown 19 fondering a little bit in that piece and that second position.
Yeah, somebody else that was looking to make a move and actually just made a move was ISRL Knight on those intermediate tires. The lead driver on the intermediate tires, and he actually just got past Jordan, who is crucially running the wet tires. So it seems like the intermediates might be the best tire, just given the pace and the traction I'm seeing Knight have, and even Jamie won now as he seemingly very easily got past Carter. And look at that, Josh too even is getting past Carter like it's nothing around the hairpin. So we'll see what how much time these intermediate drivers can make up here as they're about to start the last lap of the race.
Will in the lead, Sweet Crown in second, Isaac Kush in third position, extra rotation in fourth, fifth. Sophion, and Knight is right on the back of him, and he's going to possibly make a last lap move to get into the top 5. Knight has a lot of penalties, though, so we'll have to wait and see where he finishes in this race. Sweet Crown 19, though, looking to get into the lead of the race. I don't think Duo has too many penalties on him, so we might be looking at our first-time winner here as Duo in the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix, and Isaac Kush right on the back of Sweet Crown 19. This is going to be a very dicey end to this race. Duo up to the uphill chicane of Sector 2. Sweet Crown 19 with a better exit, and he's right on the back of the rear diffuser of the Haas car. And does he make a move into the hairpin? He's going to possibly look to make a move, and yes, he will on the inside. And ooh, Duo cuts him off into the hairpin, and he's not going to get the move done. One final straight to go. Oh, and Sweet Crown 19 gets a tank slapper. Now here comes Isaac Kush on the back of Sweet Crown 19. Is he going to have enough to make a move into the chicane? It's going to be very close. I don't think he's going to do it, though. But here comes Will across the line, and he is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix, barring any penalties. We'll have to wait and see across the line. And Will is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix, and that is his first win here in ISRL Esports. So Theon Giant is up to P3 with a podium. What an amazing showing for him in the Renault. Giant will be very happy to get that result. And Isaac Kush down to 5th. That saves us some PG-13 interviews in the later part of the stream, thankfully. Sophion, though, is in 4th position. A good result for him. Jamie up to 6th. A great result for him as well. Extra rotation in 7th, 8th for Josh 2. Jordan in 9th, 10th. For ISRL Knight, not the result he wanted. After penalties, he's all the way down in P10. But Duwill wins the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was a very exciting race right from, right from the last few laps there when we were watching Duwill and Sucron 19 battling it out over and over again. I was getting visions of last week's race on a last lap move by the race winner, but it wasn't meant to be this time around as Duwill. Very strong drive, definitely deserving of that top step of the podium today, and I'm sure he's going to be celebrating with the Haas team, with the champagne, and I just want to say congratulations to him here on the stream for the win. But still a solid drive by Sucron 19.
But no. This is the big problem. Still, the Crimson Chin is on the podium again. We will never escape Michael Schumacher. That's all I want to say. Anyway, you can continue on with your still, unfortunately. Oh, no, look at that! It's all sunny all of a sudden. Look at that! Really dried up.
All sunny. Yep, dried up very quickly.
Let's go over the lineup one real quick. As Duwill wins the race, Sweetcrow 19 in 2nd, Jedian in 3rd, Sophion in 4th, 5th for Isaac Kush, Jamie in 6th, 7th for extra rotation, 8th for Josh 2, Jordan in 9th position, ISRO Knight finishing in top 10, 11th for Carter, 12th for Feral Fury, 13th for ISRO Yarno, 14th for Gurman, 15th for our infamous Pillars, 16th for Chris. Disqualifying is Lewis in the race. So that was your Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I think it was a very exciting race from what I could see. Definitely no shortage of talking points. The weather alone was enough to shake things up. Not only did we see a dry to inters, but we also saw an inter to softs, an inters to wets. And then once again at the end with the safety car, a little bit of wets to inters there, as it did seem like as if there were just a few more laps, things could have been very different given the way these intermediate tires were performing in the last 2 laps of the race.
So if you can just suggest the drivers to invite, I'll get into the showroom. We'll get into some podium interviews in this race.
But sure, let me just go find the let's go suggest the players here.
I'm unable to catch my breath a little bit.
Take a look. Let's send something quickly to Duwill. Need to find how's this PSN spelled?
I think it's DU_WIOL.
Oh, DU dash.
Oh, whatever. It's like an underscore. It's just in the middle.
Oh yeah, well, it's close enough to it. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, I don't do it this way.
We got some Discord notification sounds in the background.
Yep, it's already starting.
Who's angry at who? The drama in the Discord. It's always nice to see after a race.
Alright, there we go. Let's suggest Duwill.
Okay, let's get everybody in here. Will we get Sweet Crown 19 into the party? We'll have to wait and see. It was Jediant. Well, we will, if you can just get the invite in there. All right, let me just invite him real quick, and I'll get the... Wait a minute. Nope, it's not there yet. Where is he? Okay, well, he's not getting it then. Sorry. Anyway, there's the Haas car. Giant's not going to be happy about that one. Duel, you have won the Canadian Grand Prix. Talk us through that crazy, crazy race. You get to be in the podium interviews now. Just keep in mind, just don't do any Isaac Kush business. We don't want any demonetization, even though we don't make any money. It's whatever. Anyway, talk us through that race. Your thoughts.
I feel just like Pierre Gasly right now. I can't believe it. I can't believe what I just done. It's crazy.
Those are genuine emotions right there. It was a very, very crazy race. It was great to see that you were able to do that. Were you shocked to see Sweet Crown pitting again after that? What we saw was a blunder in the pit lane.
Station box, get held up and be in the first stop. Also, Sweet Crown was held up by his team. I don't know why. Yeah, it was a crazy race. I have no words to describe.
Well, you've put in so many great performances throughout the year, and I think this is a well-deserved victory. Fawn, any questions?
Honestly, I don't really have any questions. I want to wish you congratulations, Duel, on the victory. It's definitely well deserved. Now, I do have to ask, because given it was actually dry to wets, do you feel more comfortable on the wets, or were you actually more comfortable in the dries, based on the setup of the car?
The setup was a dry run, but I like the rain. When it's rainy, I'm never complaining, so even more in this league, because there are many drivers faster than me in the dry. So when it's raining, I think I can just fight them just a bit.
Well, there we go. We definitely saw that firsthand. Not only just fighting, but keeping the championship leader behind you for what was nearly 8, 9, 10 laps, and even more so. So once again, congratulations on the victory. And I believe that was your first win in ISRL. Am I right?
Yeah.
So congratulations on your first ever ISRL win.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
It was a fantastic win from you, Duel. Of course, we saw it coming for a long time in the season. I don't believe we're going to be getting anybody else into the podium room today, so thank you so much for talking with us. You have been watching ISRL Esports. This was coverage of round number 8 of the ISRL Tier 1 World Championship. If you liked the stream, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a race or video from ISRL Esports. My name is ISRLX. You were joined today by Fallen Monkeys in the co-commentary booth. Make sure to join us next week for the midway point, round number 9, the Mexican Grand Prix. And thank you so much for everybody who joined us for all the races today. My name is ISRLX, signing off once more, and have yourselves a wonderful night.